international anti-apartheid movement that was one of the great anti-racist movements and struggles of the 20th century. However, as we've witnessed right across the world, racism remains deeply embedded in our society. For over a year, we have been gripped by a pandemic that has disproportionately killed, stricken, and impoverished people from Black, Asian, or so-called minority ethnic communities. We have also seen the horror of Black people brutalized and killed by the police. George Floyd crushed to death for a painstaking 9 minutes by a Minneapolis police officer. The reaction to that 21st century atrocity represents the hope that we must have that we can defeat the racists. Across the world, millions of people erupted onto the streets in support of the resurgent Black Lives Matter movement. So, this weekend, as well as commemorating events of Sharpeville and other 20th century atrocities, we should commit ourselves to building a world against racism. And that is what we aim to demonstrate in the next hour or so, with a mixture of messages from live events that are happening all over the world and video recorded messages from events that either have taken place already or that are due to take place over the course of the rest of the weekend. My name is Brian Richardson from Stand Up to Racism in Britain, and in the spirit of internationalism, I'm delighted to be co-hosting this broadcast alongside a number of people from around the world. They include Saida Dirazi from the 21st March Committee in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, Baharu Dimbago Susoko from the United Against Racism and Fascism organization in Barcelona, Catalonia, the Spanish state, and Marietta Lobo from the Red Party in Oslo, Norway. Before we hear from Saida, however, I want to introduce our first video message. And I'm sure all of you watching this broadcast will have been horrified by the racism that characterized Donald Trump's regime in the United States, his presidency. And it was bookended, wasn't it, by the horrendous sight of his supporters, racists, the far right and fascists seeking to storm the Capitol building in Washington after his election defeat and before the inauguration of Joe Biden. That occurred on the 6th of January. And so I'm delighted that joining us with a video message from Baltimore in the United States is Virginia Rodino from the United Against Hate organization.
Hi, I'm Virginia Rodino of United Against. Hi, I'm Virginia Rodino of United Against Hate in the United States, and we stand very, very proudly with you today on this International Day of Protest when the world stands up and says no to racism. And in this moment, when Asian women can be gunned down in Atlanta because of their sex, because of their race, and when Black women in Bessemer, Alabama can be held down by a mega corporation, Amazon, we know that our work is far from over, but what we also know is that the only way that we can rid ourselves of racism and the systems that hold us all down is to come together on days like today. And I am so proud to be able to be here with you today. And I look forward to marching in the streets with you very, very soon. So thank you all for your incredible work and solidarity forever.
So, hello, everybody. My name is Saida de Razi. I'm from the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and I'm from the committee 21 March. It's a anti-racism and anti-fascism coalition in Holland. And we are protesting tomorrow on 21 March on the International Day Against Racism. We do this every year, and we are happy to be here. I am happy to be here. And now we are going to Brixton to the live link of Stand Up to Racism, Brixton. And yeah, Stand Up, Elizabeth is going to talk to us.
Hi everybody, my name's Elizabeth and I'm just streaming here live from Brixton Winter Square. As you can see, a great show out from our community. Brixton has a real long history of anti-racism, from the Brixton riots to the Windrush generation. We're here on Windrush Square, where we've held so many Take the Knees over the last summer, and it's fantastic to see so many people out here today. We did our Take the Knee, we've had chanting. Currently behind me you can hear Michael Holland, who's speaking on behalf of Lambeth NEU teachers. We've got music, we've got XR here, and it's been really fantastic. And days like this are so important to keep on the message that it's not just a moment, it is an absolute movement. Young, white, black and white, uniting and fighting against racism is a fantastic thing. And so we're really great to be here, and I'm so proud to look over and see how many people share that message of no justice, no peace. It's a really important message, not just for the States, but for here in the UK. We've seen this after the deaths of a young black man in Cardiff, still no inquiry. We've seen this how our government has treated the coastal poor, and so it's really important that we stand on the streets here today. So I want to thank everybody, and I wish solidarity to everybody around the world for today's momentous day.
So thank you very much from our fellows from Brixton. Now it's my turn. My name is Baharu Dembaga. I'm from Barcelona. I'm on the movement, the social movement of United Against Racism and Fascism in Catalonia. And just like other cities around the world, because of the pandemic of coronavirus, we're doing the concentration today alongside of Catalonia in a lot of cities and towns. And I'm glad to introduce our next co-host with next live link from Warsaw with our fellow Marta Disk.
Hi, now I'm in Warsaw, and we have the solidarity chain, human chain, which is spreading from the headquarters of TVP. This is the television that spread all the hate and defamation about So we are here standing together, and our solidarity chain is spreading and going to the building of European Commission, because we also disagree on approach refugees, because all are welcome here.
The whole world is watching. The whole world is watching. Czyli cały świat patrzy. Nie wiem, czy cały świat, ale na pewno w wielu miejscach, gdzie te protesty mają dzisiaj miejsce, właśnie ludzie, z którymi się solidaryzujemy, nasi przyjaciele, nasze przyjaciółki, nasi bracia i siostry,
I want that the whole world see us, Polish people, as people who are against racism, against fascism. Thank you very much.
Także, jak i w wielu miejscach.
Thank you so much, Marta from Poland. That was really inspiring, and indeed the whole world is watching. I'm Mariette. I live in Oslo in Norway, and I'm in the leadership of the Red Party. And I'm glad to say that in Norway there's been a rise in anti-racism in the last years, not least among young people. So that's really inspiring. But at the same time, we have a really grim anniversary this year. That is the 10th anniversary of the Anders Behring Breivik massacre, which took the lives of 77 people on the 22nd of July 2011. Breivik was motivated by other racists and fascists, both in Norway and in other countries. And he, in his turn, has motivated other racists and fascists, among them the Christchurch terrorists 2 years ago. So the far right is global, but we are global too. And that's why important that this day is really important, that we show each other that we are an anti-racist and anti-fascist global movement. And that's really fantastic to be a part of it. We're going to Ireland now, to Dublin, where Mehmet Uludag will join us from Lashay, United Against Racism. So Mehmet, how is the situation in Dublin?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everyone is. It's great to be here today with all comrades around the globe, joining our forces together and mark this very important day. Greetings from Dublin, Ireland, from United Against Racism and Lekela. We have seen in the recent past the first ever killing of a young black man with mental health difficulties by the Irish police force back in December. It was a racist, institutional racist killing. It was a targeted profiling of a black man who had there was no absolute reason for his killing. And this has opened up a lot of discussions and debates in this country, especially following from George Floyd's killing in America. And we are facing many challenges in terms of institutional racism. But we have also just passed the week, the St. Patrick's Day week, last week, where we have seen another wave of far-right mobilizations using the COVID and pandemic and the problems that is causing by the mismanagement of it as an excuse to mobilize far-right fascist ideas on the streets and wrapping it around mental health concerns and liberty and freedom, as the far-right these days are experimenting with. And that was another step in the aims of the far right in this country, which traditionally didn't exist, to actually mobilize, get organized, and actually even run for elections. But we haven't sat still. On the 17th, despite it being a bank holiday, we have gathered in front of 4 hospitals in defense of our public workers, many of whom are people of color, many of whom of migrant backgrounds, the nurses, the doctors, the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, and as the anti-far right, anti-fascist groups, we have organized small but very important gatherings. I mean, the far right is growing, but so are we. United Against Racism has 8 branches across north and south of this country. It's an all-island country. We don't recognize the border, the sectarian border, as a division among us. And in the north and in the south of this country, we are actually building more branches to fight racism and indeed get into contact with trade unions and other workers' organizations, other community organizations to spread that struggle. It is going to be very important in the next future knowing that we are living in COVID and the lockdown of the pandemic, that we do not give up the streets, we do not give up our mobilization capabilities, and we say that as well as zero COVID, we want an island of zero far right, zero fascist, because it is an important ambition and it is an important challenge for every progressive section of the Irish society today. Thank you very much, and greetings to you all from Ireland.
Thank you very much, Mehmet. And greetings to you too. And let me just say to everyone who is watching this broadcast that the hashtag World Against Racism is trending, is lighting up the world, is trending all over Twitter. And you can help us to do that even more by trending as well and tweeting out both about this specific event and about the events that are taking place right across the world over the course of this weekend. Let's make sure that we really do continue to build a united world against racism. I'm delighted now to be introducing our next speaker. I'm hoping that we can go live to Berlin and we can join Christy. We can't go live, so perhaps we can have some whilst we're waiting to go live to Berlin, and that indication that this really is a live broadcast, folks. Perhaps I can have some more conversation with my fellow panelists about some of the key things that you've been doing in your areas.
Yeah, I would like to talk about it.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. We over here in Holland, yeah, because of the COVID, we have to be very, very creative. Everybody had all over the world probably, but we still needed to go to the streets because we had elections, and yeah, as the election also turned out that far right became bigger and rooted in the Dutch parliament. So we have, like all over Holland, different demonstrations from today until tomorrow. So in cities like Utrecht, Groningen, Maastricht, and Rotterdam, and Amsterdam, Den Haag, are all demonstrations today and tomorrow. So it's important, if you are from Holland, you can go to those places too and be over there and support, because we need all the support. Racism is in society. It's also in the Dutch society. We have also a big issue over here in Holland where the cabinet has fallen before of the elections, because it's also in the institutions, and the Dutch government recognized also the discrimination on tax issues over here in Holland. So we need all the people, we need all the support nationally and internationally to counter this racism and discrimination. So that's why we are here, we are joining, and we will take this.
That's brilliant. That's great to hear. And events like this are happening. It's interesting, despite the pandemic, despite, of course, the importance that we recognize of keeping our communities safe. People feel so passionate about what's happening that they feel compelled to demonstrate publicly their opposition to racism. That's really important. We are going to go to Berlin very soon, but I think before that, we're going to go over to Glasgow, where I think we can be joined by Ruby Hirsch. Ruby, good to see you.
Hi.
What's happening over there?
So we're here in the south side of Glasgow at a local action. We've had to think really creatively this year. It's been amazing. We've had drummers against racism. We're having a live Roma band. We've even got a painting on the hill. I don't know if you can see it. It says "Racism is a virus." So yeah, that's where we are just now. Yeah. So here in Glasgow, we've got a history of anti-racism and solidarity amongst working class people, but we also have a sinister history of profiting from the slave trade. The city built its wealth from the slave trade. It was called the second city of empire, and it's never really yet faced its own role in that. We don't have a slavery museum. The legacy of racism is still alive, and that's why it was so amazing to have the fantastic Black Lives Matter movement erupt in such a massive way here in Glasgow. You only have to look at the racist statues and the monuments celebrating people that put down slave revolts in the city centre to know that we need to break from that legacy, and the Black Lives Matter movement here has forced somewhat of a reckoning around that, which is brilliant. But we also had our own brand of like the backlash to that, and the statue defenders here were a mixture of far-right forces and loyalists who were mobilising in our central square. And they attacked a protest of migrants and refugees last summer. So Stand Up to Racism Glasgow mobilised thousands of people, trade unionists, different religious groups, refugee groups, to take back the square. And we did that in a fantastic and united way. But I think it's interesting to look at the way the police treated the statue defenders that day, the far right. There was only a handful of them and thousands of us, and yet they were protected by the police. They were allowed to stay in the square. They weren't forced out for their own safety, and it's just to see the double standards now of both the policing bill and the way that women were treated in Clapham Common, violently attacked by police apparently for their own safety. And to think also in Glasgow how only last week football fans were allowed to run riot in the city and actually protected by the police and allowed to do that. It just shows you that actually this is about clamping down on protest. It's a crackdown on protest, and anti-racist and women are rising up against their own oppression, and the government wants to put that back in the box. They don't want us to take to the streets. They don't want us to revolt. And they want to criminalize us. We can't let that happen, and that's why it's amazing that we've got actions like this all over the country today, all over the world. Yeah, it's fantastic to see people standing in defiance and standing up against racism. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ruby from Glasgow. We are now going to Berlin to Christina Bauholz from Aufstehen gegen Rassismus. I hope that we are having contact now. Hello, Christina.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm here in Berlin, greetings of solidarity to all of you all over the world. We are demonstrating today here in front of the party headquarters of the AfD party. This is the semi-fascist party in Germany, which has a big part in inciting racism in this country. And so we are here with many activists and drawing a symbolic red line against racism and fascism. So the situation in Germany is like this. We have a deeply rooted racism in society. We have institutionalized racism, and we had the killings of Halle and Hanau 1 year and 1.5 years ago. And this really was a shocking sign that racism really kills. And this is why we are demonstrating with many people, especially many people, migrant people, POC people here, and showing our solidarity. In 1.5 hours, we will continue a bit further. There's the headquarters of the CDU, the Conservative Party, and we will continue our demonstration here to show that it's not only the far right that is inciting racism, but that racism is deeply rooted in society, and we have to fight racism, anti-Muslim, anti-Roma racism, anti-Semitism in every forms, and also in the several societies. So it's not only Berlin we are demonstrating today. We have actions and symbolic protests in more than 13, 14 cities. We have also a lot of activities in the internet and in streamings, and we are very happy to be part of this international day, this International Day of Action. So greetings to all of you all over the world. I think it's important to say that the racists, the fascists are strong, and they are killing people, but we are more, and we are connected, and our solidarity will win.
Okay, thank you, Christian from Berlin. And next, we're going to another city. We're going to the capital of Greece. We're going to Athens. We are going talk with the next live link with Petros from Athens, who has, for in my opinion, was he's a very great inspiration of how to fight against the far right. So we can go in with Athens, with our friends, of Athens. But before we go with Athens, example, Mariette, can you explain us about your fight in Norway against the far right?
Yes, sure. At the moment, we've had to do things online because the situation with Corona is quite serious in Norway. So there are a lot of meetings and debates going on these days in connection to the 21st of March, the UN Day Against Racism. But there have actually been demonstrations in the past year in 2020 against racist groups that have been mobilizing on the streets. And we also see this connection between people who are fighting the Corona restrictions and a mixture with the far right that I think you see in various countries at this moment. But I would like to just add another issue that's important in Norway and around the world, at least around in Europe, and that's the questions of refugees. That's really important in Norway because the borders are almost closed in this very rich country. So that's a key issue, I think, in the anti-racist movement these days, to fight for the right to move between borders or across borders. Yeah.
I think I guess that we all have the same issue with the refugees. I think around the Europe, and then so now we can go to Athens. Or so Dimitri.
Yes, hello.
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 Okay, so sorry for problems, but I'm here live from Athens. I'll give you a picture. So it's a big rally today from Athens. Hundreds of people, hundreds of refugees and migrants rallying here together in order to shout about the basic human rights, about the right of the kids going to school, about the rights to health access, basic human rights that have been denied to them by the Tory government, which has been ruling for the last year and a half. Now it's been a year in the pandemic, and we have really felt what a crisis under Tory rule means. It has meant money has been going to the rich and not to the poor, to private hospitals and not to public health. It has meant that ordinary people's lives have become, day to day, have become more and more difficult. But we know that we have the power. For the last 2 months, we have seen a wave of demonstrations and rallies from students, workers, human rights activists, democratic rights activists along the country, demonstrating against the policies of this Tory government. But we also know that those who have been hurt the most are our brothers and sisters from Northern Africa and from the Middle East, our refugees that have come here during the last 5 and 10 years. But we also know that together with them, together with the international movement against racism, we have the power to stop these racist policies. We hit a great blow last October to the Tory government when we crushed Golden Dawn, when we sent them to prison, when a huge anti-fascist rally gave us a great victory. So this is what we want to repeat. We want to fight together with our brothers and sisters across the globe, across the region, against the Tory government and the racist policies of the EU and of Fortress Europe. Thank you.
So much. Yeah, thank you so much. The fight you are carrying out in Greece is extremely important and of a great inspiration to us all. We're now going to another European country, that's Italy, where we'll get a video message from Mirko Ciotta, who is from the 6,000 Sardine movement. I'm not sure if the video is running.
Marietta, if the video is not showing, perhaps we can talk a little bit further.
L'Italia è una porta per l'Europa. In questo momento di incertezza politica e con una crisi di governo in atto, la minaccia di nuove elezioni che potrebbero portare al potere una delle destre più fasciste d'Europa, che disprezza e odia i migranti. L'Italia ha un ruolo fondamentale nella gestione dei flussi migratori dall'Africa e la politica interna del paese rischia di avere effetti potenti sia per il Mediterraneo che per tutti i paesi europei. I migranti sono persone. Vogliamo rimettere il rispetto dell'umanità e delle persone prima dell'appartenenza a una nazione, o peggio, al colore della pelle. I fascisti e i razzisti sono molto solidali tra loro per aumentare le diseguaglianze e le discriminazioni sociali ed etniche. È arrivato il momento di fermare questo con altrettanta, se non superiore, forza e unirci compatti a dimostrare che essere umani è più importante di tutto. L'unica porta da chiudere è quella che vogliono varcare per farsi eleggere i fascisti e i razzisti. Per questo motivo le 6.000 sardine prenderanno parte alla marcia del 20 marzo. L'Italia è una porta per l'Europa. In questo momento di incertezza politica e
Hello, everyone. I think we Hello again, everyone. I hope you're finding this as important and as inspirational as I am. I'm hoping that we can now go over to the offices of the Trades Union Congress, where the race equality officer, Will Sullivan, who has been a great friend of us in Stand Up to Racism here in Britain, is hosting the TUC Black Workers Conference, where delegates have taken a knee in solidarity with the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Race Discrimination. And hopefully we can therefore hear live from Will Sullivan at the TUC Black Workers Conference. I'm told that we're just waiting for Wilf to join us. So I was going to add, before we saw the last clip, actually, that I thought that Dimitris was, if anything, too modest about what they've done in Greece, because let's remember that Golden Dawn, were the fascist organization, had made a major political breakthrough, hadn't they? Winning seats in parliament in Greece, really making a major breakthrough into mainstream politics. And they were driven back by the absolutely inspirational efforts of Kiefer, the Greek anti-racist, anti-fascist organization, mobilizing huge numbers of people in trade unions, workers' movements, refugee organizations, and so on. And it was precisely because of that coalition of forces that they exposed the reality of Golden Dawn, that is a fascist organization, and it culminated last autumn in the leaders of that organization being found to have organized a criminal organization, the criminal organization that, of course, murdered Pavlos Fyzos and other anti-racists and immigrants, and they were imprisoned and their organization declared illegal. And an extraordinary victory for anti-racists and anti-fascists in Greece, and a consequence of that fantastic work. So Dimitris was, if anything, too modest about the brilliant work that they've done. I can see that we have Wilf Sullivan, a good friend of mine and a great friend through the TUC of Stand Up to Racism here in Britain. So Wilf, good afternoon. Good to see you. I hear that you've been taking a knee. I hope you didn't have to kneel for too long, because I know those old knees of yours aren't what they were. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I understand you're running ahead of time as well, which is a first. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to bring greetings and solidarity from the TUC and from the TUC Black Workers Conference. I think everybody that's associated with the conference knows just how important this day is, and sees it as a start of building an even bigger world movement against racism. Because we understand that, you know, it's only by coming together, not just in the UK, but globally, can we make the changes that we need. We had a fantastic panel discussion with people from Brazil, South Africa, Palestine, and the United States yesterday, just talking about how we can build within the trade union movement that global movement that we need to fight for racism across the planet. You know, I want to send my greetings and solidarity to everybody out there today that's doing local events, that's being really creative, actually. I've been watching some of the live broadcast in terms of the way that they're protesting out there, because it really will make a difference. At the Black Workers Conference, we've encouraged everybody to, if they can, join local events if they've got there in their area, take the knee and post their pictures on Twitter to help with that big effort to make sure that World Against Racism tweets on social media today. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to the rally later on in the day, and I know lots of people that are involved at the conference will come along and participate in that rally as well at 5 p.m. So solidarity to everybody out there. Let's keep the fight going.
Yeah, thank you, Wilf, from the Black Workers Conference. Yeah, so yeah, very important, and nice to hear you talk about all the things that is going on at your place and all the solidarity. Now we are going to Portugal with Rita, and she's from the United Anti-Fascist Network in Portugal. If she's there.
A plataforma antifascista de Lisboa e Val do Tejo, núcleo integrante da rede unitária antifascista, está a participar na ação da World Against Racism. Iremos estar no dia 21 de março no Largo de São Domingos, em Lisboa, para marcar o dia de luta contra a discriminação racial. Apelamos a vocês todos que estejam presentes. Obrigada.
Pelo combate à exploração capitalista e pelo fim da precariedade que afeta particularmente as pessoas racializadas no nosso país, inclusive mulheres e membros da comunidade LGBTI+, no dia 21 de março sai à rua.
Vivemos numa sociedade que as pessoas racializadas são as que mais sofrem de discriminação, abusos, exploração, precariedade, falta de direitos e igualdades. É por isso que no próximo domingo, dia 21 de março, no Porto, em Lisboa e em Ponte Delgada, saímos à rua para assinalar o Dia Internacional de Luta pela Eliminação da Discriminação Racial. Lado a lado, com os coletivos e representantes de diversas comunidades e com todas as pessoas que se queiram juntar, vamos lutar contra o racismo.
Okay, so thank you from Portugal, and now we are going with another video from Oslo, from Norway. I don't know if Mariette knows Sofia Rana, but we are going with the next video message from Oslo, from Sofia Rana.
Dear friends, this year it's been 10 years since the fascist terrorist attack on the government quarter in Oslo, which happened right here where I'm standing, and the attack on the youth branch of the Labour Party at Utøya. 10 years on, it's our duty to make a main focus on the connections between racist hate speech and actions. We should have done so a long time ago. Instead of making the Norwegian far right responsible for fostering the terrorists, like many of the left urged for, the Prime Minister himself, a prime target for the attack, called for national unity and declared it an attack on the entire nation. But it was an attack on the labor movement in general, immigrants, and the anti-racist left in particular. Now time has passed, many wounds are still not healed, but we should be ready for discussing the importance of what political leaders say and what their words actually lead to. It should not be dismissed as an attempt to put a lid on the public debate concerning immigration, Islam, or other topics pushed by the far right. This year, we will not only mark that it's been 10 years since the terrorist attack, it's also 20 years since a 15-year-old boy was murdered by neo-Nazis in Oslo. In 2019, a white supremacist killed his sister who was adopted and then attempted a massacre at a local mosque. Hate speech is not an isolated phenomenon on the fringe of society. Racism is moving into the mainstream of liberal democracies, and with each broken norm, the pillars of our common humanity are weakened. Racist hate speech is a menace to democratic values, social stability, and peace. This year, we are also going through an election campaign. Representatives of the far-right so-called Progress Party have threatened with a sharper debate and have given us a preview of their distasteful statements. They are well trained in how to create attention and conflict, and the media ensures that they succeed. Even if we are to set our own agenda, we must also counteract when they attack and try to divide us. For words mean something, even when they are used to call for solidarity and unity. No pasa.
So that was Sofia Rana from Oslo, Norway. We work together every day against racism and fascism. It's great to have Sofia with us on video today. We're going to Belgrade now, to Serbia, where Tanja Vasic will join us from Minority Initiative. Or maybe we don't have her on yet, so maybe Baharu, we can ask you, what are the important issues where you are an activist?
Well, I usually work with young people because we think that the education is a most important thing in our society, especially in our society here in Spain. Uh, we work with also especially with children because uh, we have the the opportunity for change the minds of the children, or introducing the children that all the human are the same, but in but now now there in Spain we have that far right party box that he just coming in the parliament of Catalonia, and we have a very strong fight against the far right, but not only with the with Vox. We have another movement, identitarian movements here in Catalonia, that they are not visible, but they have the same message of the of all the far right party. So we think and we work with a lot of movements in here in Catalonia. So that's the point we are now.
Mm. Yeah, important work in Spain too. I was just thinking while we're waiting for Tanya Vasic to come on that during the pandemic there's been a rise in racism, I would think, in all our countries, targeting Asians, targeting other groups. In Norway we've seen a rise of racism against persons who are adopted from other countries. We have seen a rise in racism against migrant workers, accusing them to be spreading the virus, against actually the groups that are most hardly struck by the virus, who are getting ill and even losing their lives, experiencing racism because the virus is affecting them more. So I see that people that are more exposed because they have jobs or they live in conditions where the virus spreads easily, they also experience more racism. And I expect that's the same in your countries too. Would you like to say something on that, Brian? From Great Britain.
I think that's absolutely right, Merit. And I think it's interesting how, on the one hand, and the pandemic has exposed this, because far more people from what the terminology we use in Britain is Black, Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds have been exposed to the virus, have been forced to go to work, or haven't been able to maintain, don't have big homes so that they can not have to go out into the public and so on. So they've been more exposed to the virus. And even people from, supposedly professional backgrounds, doctors, nurses, and so on, from Black and Asian and minority ethnic communities, have had to go to work and have been exposed, have become ill, have died, and so on. And there was a clear realization of that. But over the last few months, there has been an attempt to racialize the pandemic, to talk about it being, something that's come from China, and so Chinese people are to blame, or people talk about the South African variant, and racializing the pandemic and trying to use that to galvanize a racist agenda. And it's very important that we stand firm against that. highlight the structural racism that the pandemic, I think, has really exposed.
Would you like to comment on that, Saida or Baharo?
Yeah, I think I agree on everything that has been said. What I also wanted to notice by also the validism, so discrimination on disabled people. What I also noticed on the corona pandemic discussions, actually, so who is going to get the first vaccine, and maybe we should, like the far right people even said over here in Holland, maybe we should just leave the older people like this and so that because they are old and the young people need to go first, and so they already had a whole life, so it's a whole strange discussions, and with lots of validism, lots of racism, lots of also over here we see in Holland a lot of anti-Semitic talks going on, which didn't even go for example, all the Soros complot theories and stuff like that, and it's really it's so scary what is going on over here in this world, actually, because it's almost sets us back 30 years back. So the same conspiracy theories on anti-Semitic issues, and also the even over here they brought even the communists are the blame for all of this and stuff like that. And it's a lot of work that we have to do now. Because probably we are going to in a recession also, and who are the people who are going to suffer from that? The first are also, of course, the minority people, Black people, brown people, Muslim people, women. And we have to get organized, and if it's depending on me, we start from today. We do not have time to sit still, actually. That's in my conscience. Maybe I overreact, but as I see it, we have to mobilize, organize, and go we have to do that locally and internationally, and learn from each other, stay focused and put on the fight. And because for example, and a very big inspiration for me is actually the Greece situation with the far right and the Golden Dawn, how Kerva did it. They can be it's a really, really inspirational way. I think somebody comes.
Well, now, after hearing all this intervention, my fellows, with my co-host, we're going to see. I'm going to this our next fellas from New Zealand. Our fella Joe Carolan. Now we have 13 hours between our countries. So we are going to watch a video, but before I'm going to introduce a little speech from New Zealand, who 2 years ago on 50 March 2019, a fascist terrorist went into 2 mosques in Christchurch in New Zealand and killed 51 people. Earlier today, our system movement in New Zealand, Love, Hate, Racism, held a day-long conference on a struggle against racism, and they heard many moving interventions. Here is a short extract from the speech of a Muslim leader. Sadly, we don't have his name.
Nothing. Thank you so much. God bless you. Nothing. I have not met one hater in my life, and I've traveled all around New Zealand, who knows anything about Islam, apart from the word terrorist, jihad, sharia, hijab. So what's your source of information about Islam? Media, social media, or the people of similar opinion. That's why I have left my high-paying job and taken a job of average salary.
Hi everybody, my name is Maria Dantas. I'm a Brazilian member of Unitat contra el Fascisme e el Racisme in Catalonia, and I am a...
Ladies and gentlemen, the victims of racism, the victims of colonization, the victims of any abuse out there, let's agree on one thing. Those people, whether they are white supremacists, or the haters, or the extremists, or anything, or the racist, the only reason they do this is because they see you and I as lesser human beings.
Hi everybody, my name is Maria Dantas. I'm a Brazilian
That doesn't mean everybody is racist, and I want to just put this token out there. I've worked in retail business, and one of the magic about retail business is you meet a lot of people. And this is a misconception in my people as well.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That every time a white person is rude or grumpy, they think he's racist.
the victims of
He might just be a rude person.
abuse out there.
You know,
Let's
doesn't
agree
mean
on
he's
one
racist.
thing.
You wait and see him speak to another
Those
white
people,
person. He probably
whether
will
they
be
are
worse.
white supremacists,
So this is
or the
something
haters,
that
or
we
the
need to
extremists, or anything,
take it out of
or
our
the
system as
racist.
well as a misconception.
The only reason they
Know
do
people
this
before you judge
is
them.
because they see you
So with
and
this,
I
would
as
like to
lesser
end with a
human
prayer that I pray that Almighty God give us strength to be
That
with
doesn't
each other,
mean
for each
everybody
other,
is
by
racist,
each
and
other.
I want to just put
And
this
may
token
Almighty
out
God
there.
give us
I've worked in retail
success
business,
in our
and
mission.
one of the magic about retail
God bless
business
you.
is
You all are doing a fantastic job. Just being here is a blessing. With this, I close again with Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum. Kiato tirangi marie. Peace be upon you.
Thanks for that, Rose. We've heard that the label terrorism or terrorist that was specifically reserved for Muslims, and that exists.
Hello, everyone. I think that we may have lost our stream there, which I hope for those of you who are watching, you'll bear with us and appreciate that we're coordinating something right across the world here. So there are going to be one or two technical hitches, but as Baharu indicated there, it's incredibly important for us to have people from New Zealand joining us. New Zealand, the site of that horrific terrorist attack, and an indication of worldwide the dangers that we face, the challenges we face, and why it is so critically important that we build a world against racism. And what we're trying to highlight here is the extent to which, in our way, through this particular coalition, we're coordinating some of that work and hoping to build that world against racism. And it's, and as Marietta and Christine in her contribution and others have indicated, there are so many different issues that we have to address. There's the fascists and the far right, there's Islamophobia, there's anti-Semitism, some people have mentioned. There is something that has always been a critically important issue for us, certainly in Stand Up to Racism in Britain, which is, and I think others have highlighted it as well, the rights of refugees and asylum seekers. In many ways, our organization came into its own as a national body in 2015 in the aftermath of the horrible crisis that was sweeping Britain and Europe at that time. One of the images that I can never get out of my head is the image of Alan Kurdi, the Kurdish boy washed up dead on a beach in Turkey as it happened, just, you know, traveling with his family to try and find a better life. A horrendous example of the racist and exclusionary policies, border control policies of the European Union. And that, you know, that's what we're showcasing in this broadcast, and that's why it has, you know, we've had one or two technical difficulties, but I hope you can bear with us. I think we do have now our next contributor. I can see Tanya waiting patiently to come and speak to us. So we're happy to go over to our next speaker.
Hello, everybody. I don't know, do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So first of all, I would like to represent myself. I am Tanja Vasic from Minority Initiative, Belgrade, Serbia. And first of all, I would like to thank everybody here to having us as representing Roma initiative. And it's very important to be part of anti-racist family, well known in the world by its solidarity. So thanks again, and I wish to all of us happy International Anti-Racist Day, and we hope that will contribute to fight against racism. And Roma community in Serbia, but unfortunately is in the world, is facing, unfortunately, on a daily level, pressure of anti-Gypsyism. And anti-Gypsyism is a special way of racism against Roma people. It is very deeply rooted and very bright type of racism. So I'm really inviting international community to become aware of its of almost, that is 500,000 Roma who is living in Serbia, facing that on a very daily basis. That means that even the number of the Roma citizens living in Serbia is not clear. So the reason why it's not clear, because the census of Roma people is not well done. And even we see the anti-Gypsyism is rooted in statistical data. So then we come to the way they live. And most of them are living, unfortunately, in settlements without water supply, without electricity, and without canalization. So that is all about how they live. And there are many, many issues targeted by Roma issue in Serbia. So I hope that international community will help us, and that we, with our contribution, will help them to fight against all ways and types of racism, but as well against one very specific racism, and that is anti-Gypsyism. So I hope that we will come somehow together, and that we'll cross our hands together, and that we'll find that solidarity and unity, and that our mission one day will be soon accomplished. Thank you for having me.
That was Tanya from Serbia, and thank you very much for joining us. We're very pleased to be able to hear from you and solidarity with the communities that you represent. Comrades and friends, we were hoping to go live to Vienna to hear from David Albrecht, the Austrian organization there. Unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately for us, but I'm sure you will understand this. The anti-fascists and anti-racists in Vienna are having to counter-mobilize today fascist organizations in the streets. So obviously them prioritizing the mobilization that they're building has to take precedence before appearing on this broadcast. But they do send their solidarity to this broadcast and to everyone across the world organizing against racism. And I'm sure you will want to send your solidarity solidarity to them out in the streets, fighting the good fight as they must do and as they are doing. So solidarity to David and all of our comrades and friends in the streets in Vienna. I'm now going to hand over to Saida, who can introduce our next live link. Saida, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Yeah, we stand in solidarity with David from Austria. Very courageous and yeah, very necessary. So now we're going to go to Denmark, to the organization over there called Other Sense, with Lena Jonker. Lena, are you there? Hello? Hello, Lena. She is there. I can see you and I can hear you. And she's getting something. So I'll be talking a little bit more until she's finished. Denmark. Hello, Denmark. Lena, are you ready? Are you? Oh, yeah. Hello. Hello. She's not hearing anything, but we will be waiting because she's there. Hello. Lena.
Yes, I'm here.
Are you there? Okay.
Yes,
hello. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
Denmark.
you. Yes, I'm ready. I'm in
Can you tell us something about the situation in Denmark and how you're doing over there?
Yes, I can. Right now, I'm in the middle of Denmark. We are in Odense, where our demonstration it isn't finished yet, but we are about 100 people here. Maybe you can hear a little from us. We have been marching around the city, crying refugees are welcome here, and a lot of other slogans. But the situation in Denmark is that we have a big problem with Danish citizens, which are in refugee camps in Syria, and the Danish government don't want to bring them back. So there's a big campaign in order to make sure that they come back. We are also fighting with the government about Syria, the Syrian refugees. About 900 Syrian refugees are about to be sent back to Syria, and we say that they have to stay here because Syria is not safe, and there's still a regime which oppresses people and torture people. So this has been the big issue here. Besides, we have a problem with what you could call the ghetto laws. It is laws which try to move people from non-Western countries out of their homes to other parts of the country or other parts of the town, and they tear down their houses or sell them. It's a big disgrace. They call all the areas for ghettos, and so this has been what the demonstration has been about, and also we have been discussing the racist rhetoric from the top of society. But it has been very good because a lot of different people from many backgrounds, especially young people, have been here. And when we leave it, we go back and say, yes, the fight will continue, and we will meet again, and we will do more things. Besides, there have been a demonstration
the capital of Denmark, in Copenhagen, and there have been demonstrations also in Aarhus, another big city. So from Denmark, we are proud to have been able to have these demonstrations, and of course, COVID is a problem, but we are outside, so we think it's all right, and we really want to use our right to protest because this is our right. Yeah. Sådanne negativ adfærd kommer ikke af sig selv.
So I think we're going to Manchester. Could that be right?
We set up justice.
Hello.
Nahela.
Hello, Naila.
Are you
Hi,
there?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you want me to stay on mute for now?
We can hear you, Naila.
Yes. Do you want me to go on mute, or are we?
No,
Do you want me to?
tell us what's happening in Manchester.
So we're here in Manchester. Sorry, it's a bit noisy. So we're here in the square, St. Peter's Square, with hundreds of people out demonstrating. We took the knee. We're having speeches now, and we're going to continue to stay on the streets, showing our both support for the Black Lives Matter movement and the anti-racist movement internationally, but also to show just how angry we are over this new policing bill. So we've got organisations from across the board. We've got XR here today. We've got trade unions. We've got student movements. We've got cops off campus. We've got all the local stand up to racism groups. And we're really, just here to show that we're not going to allow the police to push us off the streets. We know that the demonstration in Clapham Common on Saturday was about not keeping women safe, but about shutting down resistance. And so we're standing here today in solidarity, both with the women that were attacked in Clapham Common, but all the organisations and groups that know that if that new bill goes through, then it's not just Black people who have continuously been harassed by police, but it's been other organisations as well. So that's why we're here, and we're out, and we're angry, and we're loud. And really, I think the one thing I want to say is solidarity to everybody across Europe that's out on the streets today. We need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep campaigning, because we can't allow the pandemic to be used to not just push through legislation that impacts all of us, but also to be used to stop opposition to the racist policies that governments have. And I guess for me, and for all of us here in Manchester, it's really important that we know that we're part of a wider international movement. That's so important, because let's be quite honest, our government links up internationally with other governments, and they connect up and talk and plan their racist policies that mean that, refugees die in the Mediterranean, die fleeing to safety. And so we, as anti-racist campaigners, we also need to connect up across borders and say no more. We're not going to allow them to, continue allowing refugees to drown in the Mediterranean, Black men to be killed at the hands of the police. Let's be honest, not just in America, but here in Britain as well. There are hundreds of men that have lost their lives at the hands of the police. And I think I need to go, so we're going to bring on the next speaker. But thank you very much, and solidarity.
Thank you so much, Nahela, from Manchester, in the middle of a demonstration. That was really inspiring. Thank you. We'll now get a video message from Istanbul, Turkey. by Denis Gungoran. Or is he speaking live? Maybe he's speaking live. Ah, that's even better. So Denis, from Istanbul in Turkey, live. That's fantastic. How are things there? I can see you. Yeah.
Well, we can hear.
I think you need to turn on your microphone, Denis.
Turn on your mic, not your camera.
Denis, turn on your camera and your mic, please.
Turn on your mic.
And on
Need your...
Now I'm in, I guess. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
You're right now.
Fantastic.
Okay. Should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, I can hear you very dimly. I'm sorry if I made any inconveniences. And first of all, greetings to all friends and comrades. I have to speak quite briefly because just yesterday evening the government dissolved a very important agreement, a document called Istanbul Agreement, which was about women's rights and action against violence against women, and it was obviously dissolved very undemocratically. And today there's an urgent call for mass action, mass protests, and so we had to take our demonstration an hour earlier, not to block the main event today. We were a couple of people. We did our protests in 2 cities, and now, as you can imagine, we're off to the women's rally. I can show you the crowd in just a second if you would like. And so yes, it's really so nice to see, although I can't see literally anybody, but I'm sure there are many people there who joined in solidarity for the global action against racism. And although maybe you can see, but perhaps you started to hear, there's the crowd over there, and we're going to join them in a second. So again, my greetings and feelings of solidarity to all of you, and we will prevail.
Well, that was great to hear from Denis, and I hope you've had there, a real sense of this is a live broadcast with people contributing from right across the world, including in the midst of struggle. It's absolutely inspirational to hear from all of them. We have one final video to show. It's from Barcelona. And it is Maria Dantas, who is an MP for Catalonia in the Spanish Parliament. And we are absolutely delighted to have this contribution. And after that, we will have some final words from each of us before sending you back out into the wider world. So if we can have that video, that would be great.
And I am in Spain. Brazil has just passed the figure of 12 million people infected and almost 300,000 confirmed deaths due to coronavirus today. Indigenous people have been victims of the pandemics with mild infections and deaths, and illegal deforestation in Amazon region has recorded. In the midst of this landscape of devastation, Brazil has come under a fascist president. Bolsonaro campaigns daily against the lockdown. He spreads conspiracy theories, racism, xenophobia, hate speech. Bolsonaro daily insults against the press, the political class, the black populations, indigenous people, the LGBTI population, women, the poor, make up the ideology of staging of a genocidal government project. Vox is Spain's Bolsonaro. Vox has become the third largest formation in Spain's national parliament. Vox's vote goals is make Spain great again, with racism, xenophobia, like Bolsonaro and Trump. The purpose today is not only to remember the victims and the lives lost by the racism, but also to make a stand against the rising racism and xenophobia. We urge NGO, community organizations, schools, local councils, and all manner of groups and individuals to join forces and confront racism. Stop racism. Hi, everybody.
Comrades and friends, at the beginning of this broadcast, I talked about the great Black Lives Matter protests, which last year really represented a highlight during a very dark and dim era in our history. And you've also heard several other speakers during the course of this broadcast talking about Black Lives Matter as well. One of the greatest endorsements of those protests came from Angela Davis, who you may just be able to see behind me here, one of my great heroes and one of the great veterans of the 1960s Black Power upsurge in the United States, a protest with which the Black Lives Matter upsurges have been compared in terms of their size and their scope and their impact. And when she spoke, Angela Davis rightly argued that we must ensure that instead of simply being a great moment in the summer of 2020, that we build out of those struggles, out of those demonstrations, out of those protests, a movement for lasting change. Today's event highlights our efforts and our determination to build that movement, a world against all forms of racism. And you heard people talking about the challenge of fighting all forms of racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Gypsy and traveller racism, the defence of refugees and asylum seekers, the fight against the far right and fascists, the importance of building a struggle against structural racism and the way in which our governments have used the pandemic to clamp down even harder on immigrant communities. We have to build a world against all forms of racism. I hope that you have been inspired by the videos and the live testimony that you have heard here during the course of this broadcast. And I hope that you will pledge to stay involved and continue to be involved in the fight against racism. One way, certainly here in Britain, that you can do that is by tuning into the rally at 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time that is being hosted by the Trade Union Congress. And we heard from the Trade Union Congress's Race Equality Officer, Will Sullivan, earlier in the broadcast. They will be hosting another event at which they will be bringing together a panel of speakers to demonstrate their commitment to opposing racism later on this afternoon. It just it just really is for me to finish, therefore, by thanking you all for coming and joining this broadcast, thanking all of the people from all over the world who are either in the streets now and have shown their commitment by taking to the streets, taking a knee, or those people who have sent videos demonstrating what they have been doing or what they will be doing in the days ahead. And also by thanking my co-hosts, Saida, Baharu and Marietta, for your contribution both to this broadcast and your contribution to this struggle. Let's make sure that we recommit ourselves over the next weeks, months and years to building that world against racism. In the meantime, stay safe, stay in the struggle.